Hi everyone, welcome back to Numinosophy Academy. I'm Lewis. Today we're going to be doing another video from Saints Unscripted. As always, if you enjoy this content, please do like this video for the YouTube algorithm. So the title of today's video is Unusual Facts About Mormon Prophets, and we will get straight into it.
All right. Well, so we've got 17 prophets in this dispensation, starting with Joseph Smith on to President Nelson, who...
Okay, I should probably explain what that means, dispensation. This is a way of kind of dividing up biblical history. It's not original to the Latter-day Saints, but they put considerably more emphasis on this idea than any other, Christian denomination. So within Mormon theology, there are 7 dispensations, starting with the Adamite, the Adam dispensation. I don't think I'm going to be able to remember them all. Enoch, Noah, Abraham. Then there's another one. I can't remember. Jesus. And then the final dispensation is Joseph Smith's dispensation. So it's considered the 7th and final dispensation before the second coming, before Jesus returns.
Who is our prophet today, and we thought it'd be fun to kind of give a couple of fun facts about these guys.
About all of the prophets.
About all of them.
Every single one. We're going to do it.
So, we have our handy-dandy list of fun facts here that come from a variety of sources. Some are from LDS Living and LDSFacts.net and lots of different places.
No, dang,
Wikipedia.
I'm sorry.
What?
Yes. We're borrowing things from LDS Living. We love LDS Living. They have not spoken about our show at all. It's okay.
Yes, okay.
LDS Living has never talked about our show, ever. They've never even referenced. They actually had an article about 3 Mormons who were athletes, not at the show 3 Mormons.
Obviously not us.
They don't like us.
The extent to which LDS Living wants to distance himself from Saints Unscripted. Not that surprising to me.
I don't know why.
Joseph Smith. Fun fact, I bet you did not know that when he was 14, there was an assassination attempt on his life. That's redundant. Someone tried to kill the kid.
Yeah, someone tried to kill him until he died.
Yeah, until he was super dead.
Yeah.
So, I did look this up beforehand. I think this is quite dubious. He basically burst in the door and, gave this account of he's kind of walking back home and someone shoots across him and then he runs and gets back in the house. Now, given that Joseph Smith was prone to tall tales, shall we say, I think it's really just, a manifestation of his attention-seeking behavior. I don't buy it, basically. He comes home, he tells everyone that someone tried to shoot him, and then I think, a couple of his family members go out and try and, find who it was that did this, and, nothing comes of it. That's my understanding, anyway.
But he didn't die because they shot at him, but they hit a cow instead. And Joseph was okay, so...
That's good.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Somebody tried to kill a 14-year-old kid.
It happens.
If I were lying about this whole restoration thing... When people start trying to kill me, I'd probably just stop there. But he didn't, so maybe...
Well, they were motivated to kill Joseph because he was evil, and he was the devil, and everyone knows you gotta shoot people if you disagree with them.
All right, moving on.
President Brigham...
But then in saying that, another person trying to shoot someone in America is also not that surprising either, so who knows?
Brigham Young only had 11 days of formal schooling, and then he just stopped going to school. So remember, kids, drop out of school and become a prophet. I'm kidding. Don't. Bad idea. I'm joking. Terrible idea. Don't do what I just said.
Obviously, it's not that surprising that someone in the 19th century has, little to no formal education. I guess what is surprising is that, Brigham Young could become such an important political and religious leader and not have any education.
And after 1862, Brigham Young also wore dentures. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot of teeth
no, he did not have a lot of teeth.
until he got fake ones. All right. John Taylor.
I think, okay, just let me give another fact on Brigham Young, or Brigham Young. I always say his name wrong. I think probably the most famous thing, apart from him being kind of, the theocratic leader of the greater Utah area. He promoted the idea of blood atonement, which is a very controversial theological idea that if you commit a unforgivable sin, you need to shed your own blood. So, for example, if you commit a capital punishment and you were a faithful Mormon, you might opt not to be hung because no blood is therefore being spilt to atone for your, heinous sin. Rather, you might opt to be shot so that blood is spilt on the ground and that can atone for your sin. And it was even suggested that blood atonement was used to justify just going out to murder people that were, apostates, people that were in direct opposition to the will of Brigham Young. There's not a great deal of evidence, however, that actually did happen, or if it did, it was more like it was linked to the blood atonement thing, kind of retrospectively. It doesn't appear as if Brigham Young at any point went, "That person is a sinner, go and kill him." But who knows? I guess it's possible.
All right. John Taylor. John Taylor came third, we know, and Wilford Woodruff, Lorenzo Snow. But we'll get to them. So John Taylor was in Carthage jail along with Willard Richards and Joseph Smith and Hiram Smith. Obviously, we know Joseph and Hiram were killed. John Taylor, he took some shots. He was shot in the, there's a list here. He was shot in the thigh, he was shot in the knee, in the arm, and in the hip at Carthage. And ultimately, he was shot in the breast pocket, but was saved by his pocket watch. The bullet hit his watch.
I've heard that is debatable. I've heard another explanation that he kind of fell upon the windowsill, and that's what caused the small hole in his pocket watch. But it's possible, obviously.
And that one didn't get him.
After the mob left, Willard Richards was leaving. He was trying to get to leave, and he heard John say, "Willard, take me." And Willard Richards took John Taylor into a different room to hide there for a while because they knew the mob was going to come back. Mm-hmm. He had to pick up. It's such a sad story. Wilford Woodruff had a really cool.
I think the main thing that comes to mind for me when it comes to John Taylor is all the stuff around polygamy. So this was towards the end of his presidency, the United States government began the kind of legislative process of outlawing the practice of polygamy. And in response, John Taylor went into exile. He went into hiding away from his wives in order to protect them. And in order to, continue to uphold and protect the central principle of polygamy, which he believed in. And most controversially, he allegedly, although I see absolutely no reason to suspect that this is not the case, he gave a revelation in 1886, I think it was, that, polygamy would outlast this current period of turmoil, and that it was the true principle of the church, and that it must be upheld, etc., etc., etc. And that's what Mormon fundamentalists continue to use to this day as an argument for why polygamy needs to continue to be upheld. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if John Taylor believed and thought that. It would be completely in keeping with the fact that he's in exile protecting this principle anyway. So, of course he would think that. I think even his son, John Taylor Jr., I think, was even ultimately excommunicated from the church because he continued to believe in the practice of polygamy when it became untenable for the church to continue to uphold that principle, at least outwardly speaking.
Wilford Woodruff had a really cool vision in the St. George Temple where he was appeared to by a bunch of really, really important figures throughout history. A lot of the Founding Fathers and Protestant Protestant reformers. And they're basically like, hey, we helped lay the foundation right up until the restoration right here, so you should do our temple work. And he was like, okay. That's about what, that's what happened.
That's cool.
All right. President Lorenzo Snow, during his third mission when he was 27, he presented a Book of Mormon to Queen Victoria. And it's actually still in the Windsor Castle to this day. So
There's a library there, apparently.
yeah, there's a library and a castle, and a Book of Mormon's there. Great story. All right, let's keep going.
All right. Joseph F. Smith. Okay, so when Joseph F. Smith was a kid, a mob attacked, and they threw a mattress on top of him, and it almost smothered him to death. The more you know.
My gosh, they were always trying to kill the prophets.
Yep. Also, he crossed the plains as a young boy.
My Joseph F. Smith fact is I believe he was the last prophet of the church to have known Joseph Smith personally.
Okay, so Heber J. Grant, he was the president of the church during World War II. He developed a lot of what our welfare program is today. And dude wasn't that interesting as far as
Oh, no!
we don't have anything interesting to say about him.
Cut! So, George Albert Smith, I relate to him a lot. He married Wilford Woodruff's granddaughter. And
Which you've done as well.
Yes, and then he left for a mission a week later. I've never married a girl and left for a mission a week later, but I have dated a girl and left.
Where'd you go? You just left?
David O. McKay.
David O. McKay, all right. Dude was the education master. So BYU hasn't always been a formal university, but under David O. McKay, he helped convert it into an actual 4-year credentialized, is that a word? University.
Yeah. Joseph Fielding Smith. Before he was prophet, he helped oversee the evacuation of missionaries out of Europe right before World War II. Or during World War II. Prior to World War II. So right before World War II. That's what he did. And so they got out of there. Before the Nazis started killing people.
All right, Harold B. Lee was president of the church through the Great Depression, and he helped people get jobs in the church. He helped a lot of people get jobs in the church.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really get as interesting for me as we get into more modern times. Old guys that did nice charitable things is, not exactly that controversial. Not really a lot of interesting things that I can say about it, but we will persevere.
It says, so more than, oh my goodness, according to our information, according to our sources, more than half of the members of the church during the Great Depression didn't have jobs. And
Wow.
So also, we talked about Heber J. Grant and his involvement in the welfare program, and Harold B. Lee also did a lot with the welfare program to help people get jobs.
You know what's interesting? I know that the stereotype about Mormons is it's also the stereotype about Jews that Mormons are just very successful and the Mormons make a lot of money.
And Asians. Yep.
But Mormons, for a lot of our history, were not these business successful people. They're poor, and always, not just barely making it through.
Yeah, particularly prior to the 1856 Mormon Reformation, when, Utah was really just a unprosperous desert. And then, Brigham Young attempted to make something of it, which I actually covered in my previous episode, so you can check that out after this.
And now you think of Mormons, you think of the clean cut, I've got a lot of money and a good smile. And they're like, run, But for the longest time, Mormons
They were in debt.
Financially struggling. The church was in major debt. Yeah.
Yep. And also, President Lee started the Bishop Storehouse, which at the time was called the Pioneer Stake Bishop Storehouse back in 1932. But I think Bishop Storehouse are
sounds
awesome.
a little better.
There was a Bishop Storehouse near my where I used to live in Oregon, and if there was ever a zombie apocalypse, you got to get to the storehouse because it's usually a pretty secluded. Well, where I lived, it was a secluded building, high walls, concrete, had everything you need in there. It had of course stored water. It had a water pump. It had a little gated, fenced area in the back, flat land all around, so you could snipe things out if you needed to. I had a plan. I went on my mission. I left my family with a zombie apocalypse plan, which included the Bishop Storehouse. Thank you, President Lee.
Well, you heard it here, folks. President Lee helped pave the way to survive against zombies. Spencer W. Kimball. He was president of the church when the priesthood was given to all worthy males and the ban on black members was lifted. The number of temples doubled under President Kimball. Missionaries increased by 50%. This guy had a lot of stuff done. And his most famous quote is, "We must lengthen our stride and must do it now." So Kimball sort of knew that there was an urgency to,
I did do a previous episode discussing Kimball's book, The Miracle of Forgiveness, which is pretty unsavory by today's standards. It very much does reflect kind of conservative Christian attitudes in the 1960s, particularly around the dynamics between men and women in terms of sexual dynamics. It's, very antiquated, and, particularly on the homosexuality issue. It's, it just kind of trots out the classic line that it's a sin and that, they need to go through some kind of a healing.
Make everything better. And he just did it.
It sounds like the Saints responded.
Yeah.
All right, Ezra Taft Benson. This is interesting. Before serving as president of the church, he was Secretary of Agriculture in the U.S. government.
And who called him? It was Eisenhower, right?
I wonder how many prophets there were involved in politics, because I know Brigham Young was briefly the governor of Utah, I think, and now we have this prophet, so that might be it.
Howard W. Hunter. President Hunter served the shortest term of a LDS president.
Just 9 months.
Yeah, so a lot of people,
Not a long time.
just like a baby.
Well, if you will appoint all these old guys, they're bound to die every so often. I don't really get why the church does that. I mean, Joseph Smith died when he was, 38? And Brigham Young became the president prophet in his 40s. And then ever since then, it's basically just been old people. So, why not have a younger prophet? Why not get some younger blood in there? I don't know if there's any reason for that, apart from, they're conforming more, I guess. And that kind of plays into this. The further and further we move towards contemporary times, the less eccentricity there is amongst these individuals. They just become, boring old guys for the most part, it seems to me.
Maybe. But what Howard W. Hunter did was also, he did something unthinkable. He helped establish BYU Jerusalem. So right now in Jerusalem, there's a BYU campus there. And that is sort of, he was on this piece of land that everyone wanted, right? Jews wanted it, Muslims wanted it, Catholics wanted it, Protestants wanted it, and they all wanted it. And then the Mormon guy just goes, "Oh, Colin, don't take that." And they're like, "What? The Mormons got it? That's not okay." We did it. And it's right next to the Mount of Olives, the Holy Mount of Olives. So Howard W. Hunter helped do one of the most amazing things in church history, in my opinion.
Right on.
Yeah.
President Hinckley, Gordon B. Hinckley, became prophet in 1995. He was the first prophet that I remember when I was a kid. So President Hinckley's pretty famous for being, he made a lot of public appearances. He was on 60 Minutes.
Larry King.
He was on Larry King.
Larry King.
He was in the public eye quite a bit.
Gordon.
Yeah, it feels like it was Hinckley that kind of shaped the public persona and public perception of the LDS Church more than anyone else. I don't know. But, giving, a false front, a kind of false persona to the public, suggesting that they are more of a mainstream Christian denomination as opposed to a religion that's, very different to other Christian denominations. So, duplicitous, I think. It seems to me anyway, especially with the Larry King interview. He's wanting to suggest something which doesn't appear to me that close to the reality.
Gordon B. Hinckley helped step into the public eye and we're the Mormons. This is the leader of the Mormons basically, and it's just really, really cool. So he did all those interviews and people are like, "Wow, I guess it's not as weird as we thought. We're just kind of talking. We're kind of normal people." So.
And there's a great picture of him in a fedora.
Or the picture of him waving with the cane. That's such a cute picture.
That's a great picture.
President Monson, who was the prophet when I joined the church.
Please stop.
This is the ritziest intro ever.
President Monson, he found this really amazing way to combine technology and family history to really make them work together, and helped do a lot for church history. You know, opening the records, getting things digitized. You know, the
He did that himself personally, did he? I think that's unlikely.
Joseph Smith papers would not be possible without President Monson. And his favorite flavor of ice cream was lime.
Yogurt. Yogurt. Lime yogurt. Not ice cream.
Gosh, I'm crying.
All right. President Nelson, our current prophet. So, the last time, so we all know he was a heart surgeon. If you didn't know that, now you know. Last time he performed open heart.
Again, really old. Like, I think he's like 96 now. What is up with, they're being so old? It's like there must just be a line of old people waiting in the wings, hoping that one day, maybe when they reach their 90s, they'll be old enough to become president.
Heart surgery was in 1985 in China. He was called as a member of the Quorum of the 12 in 1984.
Open heart surgery in China.
He was called as a member of the Quorum of the 12 in 1984, and in 1985 he performed his last open heart surgery because he was a heart surgeon previously. And so he performed a heart surgery while he was serving as an apostle, which,
Wow.
considering all they do without their previous careers factored in, he was doing a lot. Also,
Man, they're really reaching now, aren't they? When he was apostle, he did what he did previously. Wow!
he made a visit to Mozambique a few years ago with his wife, and they were eating with the mission president there when a bunch of robbers come in with guns, and they say to his wife, "We're going to kidnap her and we're going to kill you." And so they grab his wife, they put a gun to President Nelson's head.
Oh my goodness.
They pull the trigger and nothing happens.
Ah, that's awesome.
And then they just poof, scattered out of there.
Because the Lord is protecting the prophet, or the to-be prophet at the time.
Pretty crazy. I think the mission president's wife got a broken arm, which is unfortunate, but at least President Nelson didn't get shot in the head. And
That's
his
crazy.
wife is fine. So.
Well, hot dang.
Okay, so there you go. Divine protection of the prophet. Much like Joseph Smith received... Oh, no way. That didn't happen. Okay. Anyway, I'm not sure any of those, apart from the early on facts for the early on prophets, none of that was very unusual facts in my view. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks in particular to my Patreon subscribers. You can see up there. Cheers again. Please do help spread the word, share my video, like this video for the YouTube algorithm. Again, if you've gotten this far and you've not subscribed yet, please do subscribe so that you are kept abreast of upcoming future videos. Cheers again, and I will see you in the next one.